A thick layer of gray mist blankets the volcanic shores of Mauritius, where ancient black rocks meet the relentless crashing waves of the Indian Ocean. The wind carries the sharp scent of salt and the soft rustle of prehistoric ferns dancing in the pre-dawn darkness of a world untouched by man. Deep within this primitive rainforest, something heavy moves through the shadows, its weight crushing the damp vegetation with every slow, deliberate step. A creature emerges from the undergrowth, possessing a rounded body and sturdy legs that were never designed for the frantic pace of a predator's world. Its small, vestigial wings are pressed tightly against its sides, useless for flight but serving as a reminder of an ancestry that once ruled the skies. The bird scans the horizon with eyes that have never seen a threat, unaware that the distant white sails appearing in the mist signal the end. The dodo did not go extinct because it was weak. It vanished because it was too perfectly adapted for a paradise that was about to disappear. 4 million years ago, the ancestor of this flightless giant was a creature of incredible grace and power, a master of the open air. Known as the Nicobar pigeon's close relative, these ancient voyagers possessed long, powerful wings and a light skeleton built for traversing thousands of kilometers. A massive storm front gathers over the prehistoric Indian Ocean, forcing the flock to battle against winds that would ground any lesser creature. Exhausted and battered by the gale, a small group of these pioneers spots a green jewel rising from the blue expanse, the island of Mauritius. This was a volcanic sanctuary, a land where no terrestrial predators had ever set foot, offering an abundance of food and a promise of safety. As the first tired birds land on the pristine white sands, they have no way of knowing that their descendants will never fly again. Over the next few 100,000 years, the island's isolation begins to rewrite the very biological code of these avian colonizers. In an environment without tigers, wolves, or snakes, the frantic need to take flight suddenly evaporates, and nature begins to economize. Flight is an expensive luxury in terms of calories, requiring massive chest muscles and a specialized high metabolism diet that is difficult to maintain. The birds start to spend more time on the ground, where the forest floor is carpeted with nutritious fallen fruits and succulent seeds. With each passing generation, those with slightly smaller wings and sturdier legs find it easier to navigate the dense undergrowth of the interior. The heavy keel bone, once the anchor for flight muscles, begins to shrink, while the legs thicken to support a growing body mass. A young bird attempts to flutter across a small ravine, but its wings only provide a brief, clumsy glide before it lands in the soft leaves. Nature is slowly erasing the memory of the sky from their bodies, trading the freedom of the air for the security of the earth. By 500,000 years ago, the transformation is complete, and a new species has claimed its place as the island's gentle giant. Standing 3 feet tall and weighing over 20 kilograms, the dodo has become a specialized herbivore that fears nothing in its emerald kingdom. Its beak has evolved into a powerful tool, capable of cracking open the toughest shells of the endemic tambalacoke tree seeds. They form social bonds, wandering the forest in small groups and communicating with low, resonant calls that echo through the humid air. Because they have no predators, they build their nests directly on the ground, exposing their single large eggs to the open air without a second thought. This absolute lack of fear is not a sign of stupidity, but a testament to a world that was, for eons, entirely peaceful. A giant tortoise slowly lumbers past a dodo, and the bird barely moves, showing a level of comfort that exists only in isolation. The dodo's digestive system has even become integral to the island's ecology, helping seeds germinate as they pass through its gut. For thousands of years, this was the status quo, a stable, unchanging cycle of life where the dodo reigned supreme as the harmless monarch. Then, in the year 1598, the first wooden hulls of European ships grind against the coral reefs, shattering the island's long silence. Men with iron tools and hungry bellies step onto the shore, followed by a biological shockwave that the dodo is completely unprepared for. Along with the humans come invisible invaders, black rats, domestic dogs, and feral pigs that scurry from the holds of the ships. A curious dodo approaches a group of sailors, its lack of instinctive flight response making it an easy target for men seeking fresh meat. The birds are so docile that they can be led directly to the ships by the dozens, their extinction beginning with a simple lack of suspicion. But it isn't just the hunting that seals their fate. It is the destruction of their reproductive future by the new island inhabitants. The pigs and rats find the dodo's ground-level nests, devouring the single eggs that take months to hatch and years to replace. A mother dodo tries to defend her nest with her heavy beak, but she is no match for a pack of hungry dogs trained for the hunt. Forests that had stood for millennia are cleared for timber and plantations, shrinking the habitat that the birds once called their own. As the trees fall, the specialized food sources the dodo relies on begin to vanish, leaving the remaining birds weakened and starving. By the mid-1600s, sightings of the birds become increasingly rare, as the last survivors retreat into the deepest, most inaccessible valleys. The social groups that once thrived are now broken, and the low calls of the dodo find no answers in the increasingly empty woods. In 1681, the last verified dodo dies, quietly ending a lineage that had survived for millions of years in the span of less than a century. The island remains, but its soul is changed. The trees that once relied on the dodo for germination now struggle to spread their seeds. We remember the dodo as a symbol of failure, but in truth, it was a masterpiece of specialized evolution that simply ran out of time. The waves of Mauritius continue to crash against the basalt cliffs, indifferent to the loss of the world's most famous flightless bird. Its story serves as a haunting reminder that in the theater of life, being perfectly adapted to today offers no protection against the chaos of tomorrow. Deep in the mud of the Marais aux Sanges, the bones of the dodo remain, waiting to tell their story to those who will listen. Their disappearance was the first great wake-up call for humanity, revealing our power to erase entire worlds without even trying. The legacy of the dodo lives on in every species we strive to protect today, a ghost that haunts the conscience of the modern world. As the mist returns to the volcanic shores, we can almost imagine the sound of heavy footsteps returning to the ferns. But the forest is quiet now, and the dodo belongs only to the past and the dreams of an island that once was. Let us look back once more at the journey of the pigeon that became a king, only to be dethroned by the changing tides of history. The evolution of fearlessness was a gamble that paid off for millions of years, until the very concept of fear became a necessity for survival. The birds of Mauritius were the architects of their own beautiful, fragile cage, built from the absence of pain and the abundance of peace. When the sailors first described the dodo, they called it Walgvogel, or disgusting bird, not realizing they were looking at a biological marvel. They saw only meat and incompetence, failing to see the million-year journey that had crafted such a unique form. In the end, the dodo's greatest tragedy was not its inability to fly, but its inability to imagine that anything would ever want to hurt it. And so, the story of the dodo remains etched in the volcanic soil, a chapter of evolution that was written in paradise and erased by the world. The forest floor still holds the echoes of their heavy tread, if only we know how to listen to the silence of the trees. Every time a species vanishes today, a part of the dodo's tragic legacy is repeated, reminding us of the fragility of the natural order. We move forward, carrying the memory of the bird that forgot how to be afraid, and the island that could no longer protect it. The cycle of life continues, but the throne of Mauritius sits empty, a testament to a world that was once perfectly, dangerously peaceful. Let this be the final word on the dodo. It was not a joke of nature, but its most daring and delicate experiment. As the screen fades, the sound of the ocean remains, the same rhythm that greeted the first pigeons 4 million years ago. Wait, for in the shadows of the past, the dodo still walks, a ghost of an evolution that chose peace over power. Their extinction was a quiet affair, a slow fading of a color that the world will never see again in quite the same way. We often think of evolution as an upward climb, but for the dodo, it was a comfortable descent into the heart of the island. They traded the infinite sky for the finite forest, a bargain that worked until the boundaries of their world were breached. The birds did not need to be fast when the ground provided everything, and the air held no killers. Their legs grew thick like pillars, supporting a body that no longer needed to be aerodynamic or light. In the absence of fear, their brains may have even changed, focusing on social complexity rather than predator detection. The dodo was the ultimate expression of island gigantism, a biological phenomenon where small creatures grow large in the absence of competition. Every part of its body told a story of adaptation, from the heavy beak to the tufted tail feathers. But the very traits that made it a survivor on Mauritius made it a victim in the face of the globalized world. The introduced monkeys climbed the trees to steal the few remaining fruits, competing directly with the birds for sustenance. Even the plants were changing, as invasive seeds brought by the ships began to choke out the native flora the dodo relied upon. The dodo was trapped in a collapsing ecosystem, a king without a kingdom, watching its world wither away. The last generation of dodos likely lived in a state of constant confusion, as their once quiet home became a place of noise and danger. They were the pioneers of the Holocene extinction, the first famous victims of the age of man. And yet, in our science and our stories, we have brought them back to life, refusing to let their memory fade completely. We study their DNA, extracted from old museum specimens, hoping to unlock the secrets of their unique evolutionary path. Perhaps one day, through the wonders of technology, the heavy tread of the dodo will once again be heard in the forests of Mauritius. Until then, they remain a dream, a lesson, and a warning from a lost world that once knew no fear. Nature's clock never stops, and for the dodo, the 11th hour has long since passed. The birds were once the guardians of the island's secrets, secrets that they took with them into the grave of history. But every time we see a pigeon in our cities, we are looking at a cousin of the bird that once ruled an island paradise. The line of descent is long and winding, a thread of life that spans continents and eras. Mauritius still stands, a monument to the resilience of life and the tragedy of its loss. The dodo is gone, but the story of why it left remains the most important lesson we can ever learn. It was a bird of peace in a world that became violent, a mismatch of timing and biology. They didn't need to fly to be beautiful, and they didn't need to fight to be successful. They were simply themselves, living in the moment, until the moment was taken away. Let us honor their memory by protecting the wonders that still walk, swim, and fly among us today. For the dodo, the end was inevitable, but for us, the choice to save what remains is still ours to make. The island of the dodo is a reminder that paradise is not a place, but a delicate balance that must be guarded. Sleep well, gentle giant, for your name will never be forgotten as long as humans dream of the wonders of the natural world. The echoes of the Indian Ocean carry your story to every corner of the globe, a message of peace from a lost age. Good night, Mauritius. Good night, Dodo. The world moves on, but it carries a piece of you forever. Looking back, we see the dodo not as a failure, but as a specialist whose niche was stolen by a globalized future. Their existence was a miracle of time and space, a confluence of isolation and abundance that can never be replicated. As we walk through the forests of today, we should remember the feet that once trod here without fear. The silence is their monument, and the wind is their voice, whispering through the leaves of the ebony trees. We are the keepers of their ghost, and we must learn from the tragedy of their sudden departure. The dodo's journey from the sky to the soil was a journey toward total trust in its environment. And in the end, that trust was the only thing that could not survive the arrival of the modern world. Farewell to the bird of the mist, the king of the island, and the symbol of a lost paradise. Evolution is a story that never ends, and even in extinction, the dodo continues to evolve in our minds. Let us hold on to that dream, and ensure that no more stories end in the silence of the forest. The ancient mountains of Mauritius still watch over the land, remembering the giants that once walked beneath them. Beneath the canopy, the dodo spent its days in a slow-motion dance with the island's rhythm. It was a rhythm set by the tides and the seasons, undisturbed by the frantic clocks of humanity. To the dodo, the world was a circle of trees and fruit, a sphere of safety that felt infinite. The arrival of the Dutch was a puncture in that sphere, a leak that could never be plugged. With the sailors came the sounds of the forge and the hammer, alien noises that terrified the island's silence. The dodo, curious and slow, would approach these new sounds, only to find a world that had no room for curiosity. They were hunted not for their flavor, which was said to be tough and oily, but for the sheer convenience of their capture. In the ship's logs, they were noted as curiosities, strange blips in the expansion of an empire. But to the island, they were the keystone, the central pillar of a biological cathedral millions of years in the making. When that pillar was removed, the entire structure began to groan under the weight of change. Species of insects that lived on the dodo's feathers vanished with them, a hidden extinction within an extinction. The very soil became less fertile as the bird's nutrient-cycling habits ceased to exist. Mauritius became a shadow of itself, a beautiful postcard of a world that was dying from the inside out. We often talk about the dodo as if it were a single bird, but it was an entire lineage of lost potential. Each egg crushed by a pig was a branch of history cut short, a future that would never be realized. The birds did not go quietly into the night. They simply faded as their world became unrecognizable. In the end, only the memories and the stones remained, witnesses to a paradise lost. Let us remember the dodo not for how it died, but for how it lived, as a testament to the peace that nature can achieve. They were the masters of the slow life, the guardians of the island's tranquility. Now the wind is the only thing that moves through those valleys with the same steady, unhurried pace. The story of the dodo is a story of us and how we interact with the fragile beauty of our planet. It is a story that is still being written, with every choice we make to protect or destroy. May the ghost of the dodo guide our hands and hearts as we look toward the future of our world. For in the heart of every bird that flies, there is a memory of an island where fear did not exist. And in the heart of every person, there is a longing for the paradise we once knew. The dodo is gone, but its spirit is woven into the very fabric of the island it once called home. We leave Mauritius now, but the lessons of the dodo will travel with us forever. As the final light fades, we offer a silent thanks to the bird that taught us the true cost of extinction. The end of the dodo was not a mistake of nature, but a tragedy of human history. But through our memory, they live on, a timeless symbol of the delicate world we share. The dodo, once a king, now a legend, forever a reminder. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the evolution of the bird that forgot how to be afraid. Until the next time we look into the past to find the future.